Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is Paddock Live. Joining me is my co-host and friend and favourite, Mr. Joe Smith. How are we doing?
I'm doing well, how are you?
I'm all right, yeah, I'm good.
Good.
Not bad.
Good
yeah.
week.
It's been uneventful.
It's been a week, if nothing else.
It has, I think that we've learned something, mainly don't let you have a day off.
Yeah,
we've got a load of stories to get through, including Paul Labille Pogba, the saga. What are we going to do, man? It's been 11 years.
There's going to be rumours of him coming back. There's no way that Paul Pogba's career can end, and that's just it.
Do you reckon in like a year when it goes Pete Song at Juve or wherever he ends up, it's like he wants to come back?
There'll be a quote from him saying,
Pete.
Yeah, I quite fancy an old challenge. There'll be a quote, and he's like, oh, he's back to Old Trafford, is it? But he's gone. Lingard's gone.
Yeah.
Huge updates on the De Jong, I'm not going to say saga, ordeal. Big journalist reporting that official contact has been made with Barcelona. That is big.
Official. Comunicado official,
you know. There is the big question of does he want to join Man United? We'll get to that in a little bit. But Romano, your Sport Eins, your Guardians, your big boys are talking about this is real. De Jong is real.
You're talking about the elite of the elite. So, we'll get into all that. We'll also get into some stories about Ruben Neves and Marco Asensio. Oh,
it's all kicking off. Transfer season's in fully swinging now, isn't it?
It really is. It is live, so do get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about these stories or anything else that's going down as well. Before we get into it all, on Monday, I was on the Paddock podcast with Steve, and you may have seen a clip doing the rounds. You may have seen what's been said as well. Steve was making a point about Ed Woodward and how he's been a failure at Manchester United, and he sort of compared it to Munich and the Munich air crash. I mean, I was on the video. You've probably seen me sort of when he started speaking and saying what he was saying. I was a bit taken aback on what he was on about. Mm-hmm. He explained it in the sort of the wider context. There's been a lot of sort of backlash over it. I've had a lot of messages. Some people messaging me saying I get what he was trying to say. Others saying I like Steve, but he's out of order. Others saying, you know what, you just can't be saying that. It's not on. Just fuming. Listen, I get it. It's when you watch it. It comes across as a bit sort of, clumsily worded at best and a bit crass. He's apologised, and I know he's sincere. I think there's lessons to be learned there, not just by him, but by us as well as a channel on what we do and what we say and how it's portrayed. And I think it's important that we always have that in mind as well. So, lessons to be learned. Hopefully, we can all move on.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you. Getting back into this then, shall we start with it? Paul Pogba. I mean...
I can't believe it.
You've like... Do you know when we signed Ronnie? And I was a bit like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Right up to the point where, even when he'd signed, I was still like, have we really got him?
Surely not, though.
Is he real? Until I see him in that United shirt playing, have we really got him? And then we did. We've got him. And now it seems like Paul Pogba, for different reasons, like, is he actually going to go? Is he gone? Is this over?
And he has. He's gone. It don't feel real.
You were mentioning, just before we went on air, about a really good article by one of my faves, Laurie Well, one of our faves, I should say, our mate as well, Laurie Whitwell, in The Athletic, who's done a sort of comprehensive look at Paul Pogba's time at United.
It seems to be his sort of MO at the minute, doesn't it? Once someone leaves United, he releases the document on their time at United. He did the Rangnick one, which is one of the most comprehensive bits of journalism I've seen in recent years. Do you know what, though?
You can understand why he gets these sort of stories and gets the in-depth ones, because you'd tell him anything, wouldn't you, Laurie?
Yeah, he would.
If Laurie was here, like, if I had a secret, I'd tell Laurie.
Yeah, definitely.
If I knew someone, I'd tell him. He's just one of those guys that's just so likeable and easy to chat to.
Yeah.
And he does his own work, he graphs, and he's done it on Paul Pogba from when he signed under Jose, why that went wrong, the sort of what worked under Ollie and what didn't, what worked under Rangnick and what didn't. And there are reasons to like Pogba. If you read it, there's sometimes you go, okay, he was trying to help the dressing room, he was trying to do this, he was trying to do that. There's other times when you go, that's not good, that's not great. Just in terms of, behind the scenes. Football side of things, I'm sure everyone has an opinion on Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
I sort of buy into what you often say about Pogba, a very talented player, one of the best players in the world on his day.
Yeah.
But there's question marks about how often on his day is and whether it was enough and whether physically he was playing enough, because he missed about a quarter of games, didn't he, for injury. And as the article in The Athletic says, it's not just the amount of games he missed, it's when he missed them. He seemed to miss these pivotal points in the season where it looked like at one point, you could be, 28, 17, 18, could have a title challenge, we'll lose Pogba, and that's all over. again, under Ollie, there was a time when we're getting sort of towards the end, the business end of the season. We're doing well.
They were top of the league after Christmas.
Yeah,
weren't they?
sorry, not the business end. Sorry, after Christmas, we lose him when we need him.
3 months.
Yeah, it's just those injuries, and also there's the fact that when he is injured, and I've never really been overly bothered about that, but I can see the optics of it. We see him in Dubai, we see him out and about, and people get a bit miffed about that, don't we? Go on, I've spoken almost on your behalf. What's your take on it?
I think everyone's glad it's over, really. I think he's one of the more unfairly treated players I've seen at United in my lifetime. I think I'm glad he's gone. He needed to go. He wasn't good enough for United. He wasn't worth the money. He didn't turn up often enough. He never lived up to his potential. All the things that anyone that would criticise Paul Pogba would say, I can almost agree with almost all of them. But he was held to a standard that was almost never possible. He was held to the standard of, go on then, make Manchester United brilliant again. Not by yourself, but pretty much by yourself. You're going to be the ever-present in what is an otherwise roundabout of players and managers, and you're meant to make us successful through all of that just because of your price tag. That isn't fair. That's not a fair expectation of a footballer. He could be a great piece in a great team, but he's not the sort of player that can make a shit team great. And there aren't really many of them ever. You know, you could maybe put a 26-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo into that 2017-18 team. That might win you a league title.
Yeah.
But Paul Pogba isn't the sort of player that can do that, and that was sort of the standard he was held to. I know that by the end he wasn't held to that standard and the expectations slowly slipped, but the first 3 or 4 years were, why aren't we winning everything? It must be his fault. And I think he put in a lot of very good performances for Man United. Obviously a handful stand out, but like most people, if I went to you and said, someone who is regarded as a close to, if not a legend at Manchester United, in Michael Carrick, if I went and said to you, give me 10 performances where he was unbelievable, you'd struggle. And that's not because he didn't have them, but because history, you don't just remember, I mean, you struggle to remember anything other than outrageously brilliant. You know, Michael Carrick, I can think of the Roma 7-1, he scored a couple of goals in that, it was brilliant. But Michael Carrick had hundreds of great games for Man United. But you can't go out and off the top of your head go, he changed this, he won this, he did this.
Unless it's a striker.
Yeah, it's
very
difficult to do that.
Because you go, oh, you know, he got a hat-trick against Norwich or whatever, or Spurs, or he scored in the Champions League final. There's specific goals. Yeah. Whereas you're right, for performances, you know, there's some seminal ones, like Robbo against Barca, Robbo against the Scouts,
Keane against Juventus,
Keane against Juve.
Yeah, even more recently, you can look at.
Do you know what though? As well,
De Gea against Arsenal, De Gea against Everton.
You know what? Performances can slip under the radar. You know.
Yeah.
Do you know one performance? I don't want to go slightly off topic here. That I always think never gets the credit it deserves.
Go on.
Bastian Schweinsteiger against Liverpool. Martial's debut. That was a midfield masterclass.
Was it?
Was.
I don't even remember it. Obviously, I watched the game.
It was. That, for me, was one of the best midfield performances I've seen post-Roy Keane at Manchester United. It was. And I remember watching Match of the Day afterwards, and they didn't even mention it.
No.
They didn't even go,
it was all
Schweinsteiger. It was Martial's debut and Benteke's overhead kick and Rodgers is going to get sacked. And I was like, I literally just watched a 10 out of 10 midfield performance by Schweinsteiger. He just absolutely bossed the midfield against the team that had finished second not long ago. Yeah. And it was like, you ask anyone. Yeah. I tweeted that a few weeks ago when Schweinsteiger did something, and loads of people replied, so, you know what, I remember that game. I remember, but you never think.
No, and
it's a good point you make.
Back to that point before it gets sort of completely taken out of context. I'm not trying to say that Pogba was anywhere near as good as Michael Carrick. I'm saying even someone of Carrick's standards. Look at Paul Scholes. Game for game, he's obviously got loads of great memories, a lot of great goals that he scored. But outside of the goals, players don't tend to have huge games they're remembered for year after year after year, because that's not really how football works, like you said, unless you're a striker. So I think the fact that we can't name 50 incredible games here doesn't mean he didn't have a lot of good games. And I think in certain periods for United, he was United's best player for, runs of 10 to 15 games in a row. But it wasn't enough, and he didn't do it often enough, and I don't think anyone can deny that. But some of the shit he used to get for, dancing at his brother's wedding when he was supposedly injured. And anyone watching has danced before, right? Were you physically able to play 90 minutes of football the next day for Manchester United? No. Maybe he was in that portion of a rehabilitation where he could do this, but he couldn't sprint 100 yards over and over again.
Like for the 55th.
Yeah, exactly. There's huge levels between mobile and ready to play for Man United. So I think he got a lot of shit that was undeserved. I think he's a great talent, excellent player on his day. But like I said, he didn't have enough of those days, although he had more than a lot of people would like to admit, I think.
Yeah, it's been very difficult talking about Paul Pogba because you're right. People don't like balanced sort of analysis around him or opinions. They want he's either the greatest footballer ever. And I've actually seen people tweeting that, or like he's the best midfielder United have ever had.
Yeah.
He's not, is he?
No.
Or he's the worst signing ever, or the worst player we've ever had, or the worst footballer in the world. And it's like, well, he's not that, is he? No. He's, somewhere in between. He's a very, very good footballer who was probably inconsistent, who, yes, at times didn't have the players around him he should have had. Yeah. But also, for me, my main gripe with Pogba, other than the injuries, is just some of the bigger games. Yeah. For me, you big players, your £89 million type players, they step up not against the Burnleys and the Fulhams, which we've seen him do, but in the FA Cup final or in the Europa League final. Now, I know he did in 2017,
step up there.
But not in 2021.
No,
he was terrible.
Yeah.
And I think Laurie even addresses the issue, did he really bottle taking a penalty? He still went off injured, but was that a thing? Also, the FA Cup final in 2018, I don't remember him doing anything unless I'm misremembering. I think he was anonymous, wasn't he? And I just feel like those are the games we go. I know he did it against City at the Etihad, but it's just quite frustrating, isn't it? Because even over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, some of our biggest games, like the Paris Saint-Germain game, the only time we've beaten Liverpool in the league in the last 4 years, I think, 5 years, he didn't play in them games. Do you know what I mean? It's just injuries or suspensions have made him miss games that you need him in or you'd want him in. So, yeah, it's just not really worked out. I'm just going to go through some comments and then we will mention Jesse Lingard because we don't want to be rude.
Yeah. While you're looking, just quickly, I think he also became a symbol or the main symbol of United's transfer failure in the last sort of decade as well. Yeah. I think Maguire's got a bit of that, Sanchez as well, but Pogba's almost become the main look what Woodward's done of a player. Yeah. And I don't think that helped him either.
Pogo Gamer says, I never rated Pogba even when he left for Juve. Serie A made Pogba look good. There's a reason Sir Alex Ferguson didn't fight to keep him. Ollie Aston says, it's a shame the way it all worked out, but I feel like he made the narrative so negative himself with all the drama. Someone else saying, James Brown says, what position does he play? Adam Wilmot, though, says Pogba was playing with mid-table players. So, again, you see, I think this debate it'll rage on forever. Yeah. People will look back and go, describe Paul Pogba's career at United, and there'll be an argument. Yeah. Some will go, he was great, he was just let down by his teammates. Others will say he was let down because he had a positional merry-go-round. Others will say he never nailed down his position properly, and you couldn't line him. It'll just go on and on and on. Jesse Lingard, slightly different story. Didn't cost us anything. No. Battled with about 4 low moves on it before he got into the first team. Had to do it the hard way. Got a debut in the league. Got injured. Came back. Blossomed for a little while, didn't he? For about 18 months, 2 yeers. Yeah. Messi, Lingard and all that. Made the Emirates his dance floor. Scored in 2 cup finals.
That's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all. Worked his way into the England team and went to the World Cup semi-final as an integral part of it. And then the wheels kind of came off, didn't they? Yeah. Really massive.
Yeah, it's a shame how it's ended with him because, and I don't know, it's almost felt like some of the stuff about him not getting a send-off and all that, and then you look at some of the other, some of the great players who didn't get a send-off. I don't know, Gary Neville mentioned it, but there was even more than that. There's tons of great players who never got an official coming on for their last appearance type moment, and it soured quite significantly by the end, didn't it? Which is a shame, and I know he sort of referenced that a little bit in his post on social media before. But obviously, someone who's been at the club for that long, who's basically spent a lifetime at Manchester United, 20 years or whatever it's been since he joined the club, scored literally FA Cup winning goal. It wasn't he scored the third goal in a 5-0 win. He scored the winner in extra time, or it was extra time, wasn't it?
Yeah, against Crystal Palace, I was there.
I was too pissed to remember. I remember the goal going in the, in the top corner. Well, that's about it.
Was you steaming? I was in.
Yeah, I had about 8 Cronenbergs on the train there. Love that. It was so good because they were the ones with Cantona on the cans. Oh, and we've got to get them. If we don't get them, we'll lose.
I love the fact you got to the game with that.
I still thought we'd lost.
And I was in the press box. I was covering it for my radio station, and for the Mata goal, I kept it together. I was like, good, professional.
Well done.
When Jesse scored, I lost it, bro.
Yeah,
lost it.
lost it.
Screaming like an hooligan. It's like a hooligan had broken into the press
throwing laptops.
Yeah, shouting at people, pointing at people that
down in beers.
Yeah, giving Van Gaal grief. Yeah, you can. Yeah, in your face.
And you.
Yeah. And,
fuck off. Like Gordon Ramsay. Fuck off.
Let's go, buggy man. I mean, security coming over.
Tits out if you won the cup. Fucking stop swinging around like
that. Like just gone. Completely gone, yeah. I mean, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like
lighting the fucking team sheet on fire and set that on fire.
Go on, fuck off back to South London. And yeah, completely gone. Absolutely forget being a journalist. Was a fan for like a good 2 minutes. Went on a rampage. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and he's done that, and there aren't that many. I know.
And you know what? He didn't get anything from it, did he? Because we sacked Van Gaal that day.
Yeah, exactly. He never got a chance to bask in it. But there aren't that many players who have won FA Cups for Man United. I know there's how many have we won? 12 or something? What is it? The record 14.
I think.
However many we've won.
Arsenal took us over, haven't they? We were the record holders.
Oh yeah, second most.
Yeah.
But we've won a good amount, but there's still a very few number of people in history that have won us FA Cups, and he's one of them.
Well, so fair play. Still dangs out on it, doesn't it? I'm not, there's nothing wrong with that. What has it been, 32 years?
Yeah.
And Lee Martin, he's probably still got his medal on him. But Jesse got 2 hours before Van Gaal got sacked and Jose was in, and it was all just sort of forgot about.
But again, it's not to say it's
Duncan
not
Edwards
right time
says
for him to leave.
Jesse was no Norman Whiteside. Norman Whiteside obviously scored the winner in the 1985 FA Cup final against Everton.
You were there as a reporter for that one as well, weren't you?
I'd just been demobbed from the war.
Yeah. Yeah. Vietnam.
Yes, the Boer War actually.
Korean
Get
War.
it right. Yeah, the Crimea. So we have a bit of last fan standing.
Yeah, go on then.
This is Adam McCullough for BetVictor doing the last fan standing, talking about goalkeepers.
Right. Actually, we're talking about the most overrated player in the Premier League. So while he's talking, get your comments in. Who is the most overrated player in the Premier League? Adam McCullough.
The most overrated Premier League player, forget this season, might be ever, is Aaron Ramsdale. Arsenal fans run around like he's the second coming of bloody, David Seaman. The guy makes more mistakes than he makes saves. He's a big passion merchant. He reminds me of if Joe Hart and Jens Lehmann had a baby. Like, I just don't get what's going on with him. And Arsenal fans will still try and convince you that he's the best player he's the best goalkeeper he should be playing for England. He's just a massive, massive passion merchant who's not a very good goalkeeper either. So, yeah, Aaron Ramsdale, most overrated player in the Premier League.
So that was Adam McCullough for Last Fan Standing for BetVictor. Talking some sense there, Macca. I don't always agree with what he says.
No.
But I do there. I'm not a big Aaron Ramsdale fan.
I love how he always drags Joe Hart into every conversation about overrated passion merchants.
Yeah.
Like, I know he wasn't the best goalie in the world, but he was all right.
He was a bit Hollywood, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, massively. It's a great comparison. I completely agree with it.
I tweeted a few weeks ago. Not enough is made of the fact Aaron Ramsdale isn't very good. Just so you can see, so evidence there.
No, that's true, actually.
Yeah, see, right.
April the 16th.
April the 16th. Because I don't rate Aaron Ramsdale.
No.
I think he's a bit, like Macca said, he can make easy saves look spectacular and then not make saves that he should be making.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the most overrated player in the Premier League. Who was it you said before?
I think, it's another Arsenal player. I think Martinelli is up there. I think he's talked about as though he's anything other than just another Arsenal player. Like, Arsenal have a merry-go-round of these sorts of players that are okay. They get hyped up beyond belief and then leave without much of a fuss in 3 or 4 years' time. I'm not saying he will do that, but this always happens with them. Yeah. They do it all the time. They've got, what's the lad up front at the minute?
Nketiah. Yeah, Nketiah.
He's fine. He's just average, fine player.
When Arsenal played the Scousers,
They love it.
I didn't watch the game, but I went on Twitter. I wasn't watching it, sorry, at the time.
Yeah.
Martinelli was trending.
Yeah.
So I thought he'd scored.
Yeah.
I assumed he scored. And it was all positive. He's amazing, he's sick, he's all this.
This is the real Martinelli.
Yeah, and he'd done he nutmeg Trent Alexander-Arnold or something. Yeah. And that was it. He hadn't scored. And the thing with Martinelli is, if he does score, because he was at United running on trial and we let him go, you get Arsenal fans in your mentions or whatever going, United in the mud. And Martinelli scored, like, I don't know, what is it, 7 goals in 40 games or something. It's like, he's not...
I wouldn't take him at United.
No, I know we've got issues.
He's a fine player.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd take him as a backup because we're literally so thin on numbers in terms of strikers and attackers. But he's just an average player that is spoken about, or has up until recently been spoken about like he's going to be, one of the next best strikers in the world. And he just isn't. He's not as good as... what's he called? Tammy Abraham.
No,
he's far worse than Tammy Abraham, who can't get a game for Chelsea. I just think he's a fine player, and the same with Ramsdale. I don't know what it is about Arsenal because they've got a fan base that is the size and with the sort of eagerness of a Champions League top team, but they've got players that are, Europa Conference levels or below, as we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years. And trying to sort of make those things mesh together doesn't really work. I know United have got their problems, but we finished in the top 4 sort of 2 of the last 3 seasons. Arsenal can't get that on their best year, but the fans still think they're almost Champions level.
No,
they're not.
And there's a difference between backing your players and just being deluded.
Yeah.
And it's like whenever they have these young players, they do it all the time with the youngsters. And I can get carried away with youngsters, but they seem to do every single... I remember when they were saying like Maitland-Niles was going to be the best fullback in the history of association football and all this, when he empties his pockets, he's got Rashford in one and Martial in the other, and this is the future. And where did he end up? I remember when doing it with Kieran Gibbs. Do you know what I mean? And these are players that are just barely Premier League level.
Yeah.
And they get proper hyped up and excited. And then they have got some good young players, Smith Rowe's a decent player.
Yeah, he's good.
Because Saka's a decent player.
Yeah.
But they overhype them. And it's like, this is it now. And these players haven't won nothing.
No.
They haven't got you into the Champions League. There's still a question mark of whether they're going to sort of long term be good enough for the very top level.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all this, they're amazing, it's a bit silly. I'll get into some of the comments about most overrated players. Make sure you're checking out that video as well on BetVictor, Last Man Standing. Get in the comments and let them know you came from Stretford Paddock. Sat Singh says Tariq Lamptey. That's an interesting one because he is quite respected.
Yeah, wasn't there a point in the season where he wasn't getting in Brighton's team? He was just dropped and not playing.
And everyone was like, we need to get him at United.
Yeah.
We need to get the lad who can't get in Brighton's team.
I've come up with a new theory about United. I'm going to just keep saying it until I get bored of it. We're like the Star Wars franchise. We used to be good.
Right.
We used to be good. Like the start of the Premier League, we were good.
Yeah.
When it first came out, we were brilliant. Everyone loved it. Success after success, brilliant. Some of the best the best it's ever been. Then now we're literally just being ran. Like, have you watched the newest Star Wars films?
I watched the Obi-Wan series.
Have you? Is that any good? That might be
it's
alright.
all right.
The newest trilogy of films is like it was written by like just a Star Wars nerd in his basement. Like just going, I want this to happen. Like it's made so that audiences in cinemas cheer rather than making good films.
Yeah.
That's what United are. We sign players and we buy players that fans will like. Paul Pogba was for the fans, not for the club. It didn't make. Where's he going to fit in? No one really knows. Like the same with. We do it with everyone. We did it with Donny van der Beek. We did it with Ronaldo. Let's be honest. We did it with Ronaldo. We did it with Di Maria and Lukaku. We sign players that don't really fit a system, don't really work. But it's so that when United fans will sit home going, "Fucking brilliant! We signed such Hollywood names." When really we're just making a shit squad. Like, we are Star Wars. We used to be good, now it's just, just being trotted out for the fans, but really, the actual overall experience is shit.
But there's always the hope. There's
A new
always
hope.
a new hope.
A new hope every year.
That a new series could come out, or a new film, and it could be like...
The next one might be alright.
Yeah, this is it. This is what you hang on for, you hold out for. I watched Obi's thing, it's a decent, but I get your point. No, you're right. 100% get that. Solo's in the chat. Big up Solo. I'm
Solo.
on there. My mate Solo. Errol. I'm on the United Agenda on Friday. BMW Racing 1974 says Joe looks like Jar Jar Binks. Fuck. I think that's out of order.
That's bullshit.
You don't look like.
I look like.
Who do you look like? You look like Obi-Wan.
A bit the same
Yeah,
beard.
you got the beard and all that. You're like the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan, not the Alec Guinness one, obviously.
You look like same sort of head shape as R2D2.
I thought you were going to say Darth Vader when he's not got his helmet on.
Oh yeah, actually similar. Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
When he takes his...
yeah.
And then
when
you've
he's
got
just
all
in that. Like them grapes that you get in the tins. Do you know when you get a tin of fruit cocktail?
Yeah.
And there's the grape in there looking like Darth Vader, like that. All caved in.
Mask on, quick. Can't breathe. JR says, I'm liking this analysis, Joe.
Thank you.
Paul McNeil says, Joby won. Excellent. I love that. Alex Buckingham in the super chat says, he's been a member of the first team for 20 months. Says, the satire... the Star... He's put satire, it's obviously Star Wars. The Star Wars expanded universe written by fans and professional writers were actually good. This new United team is written by people like... I'm not going to name other content creators. You can read that if you want. I'm not going to do it. But he's named another person that makes videos. Oh, but I'm not going to do that. But fair enough if that's your opinion.
Unbelievable. Right, should we talk about Frenkie De Jong? Because this is big news.
Frenkie De Jong.
We've messed about for long enough. Talks open with Barcelona.
Barca. We've waited too long.
Yeah,
there you go.
This is happening, right? Everyone's talking about it. The Guardian, United open talks with Barcelona over Frenkie De Jong. This is coming from Sport Eins with your mate, what's he called?
Florian Plettenberg.
The other one.
Patrick Bird.
Yeah, he's talking about it.
Not the former Liverpool player.
Fabrizio Romano's talking about it.
Who's they've never heard
United have open talks with Barcelona for Frenkie De Jong. 85 million euros is what they want. United still trying to convince the player that we're not a bag of shit. He wants Champions League football, which we mostly get. Let's be honest. Okay, here's a question for you, Jay. Did Manchester United play in the Europa League this season?
Did we play in the Europa League this season? No.
Did Barcelona?
Yes.
Right, so if you want Champions League football, I don't know what you're doing fucking about Barcelona, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Barcelona, more like...
Next season, farcical, you big loser. Right, next season, they still haven't decided whether we'll be in the Champions League or not. It's still up for debate.
Anyway, if you change the Champions League format, we might be in it every year.
Yeah, exactly. Due to historical goodness. Here's what I know. United won him. I think that's certain at this point. Do you? I think there's been too many reliable people talking about this. There's no chance we're not bothered.
No.
I think that Ten Hag really wants him to be his marquee signing this summer, and I think that this whole him talking about wanting to stay at Barcelona, not sure about United thing, 50% of that will be, yeah, fair enough, he wants to stay. He loves Barcelona, he wants to be there. But I think there's a good chunk of that is, odds are I'm going to be here next season, or I might well be here next season. I can't say, yeah, fuck it, I want to go. Because if that deal doesn't happen and he has to stay and he has to play for a team that he's basically just slagged off, he's going to look like a right idiot. So part of him has to say how much he wants to stay at Barcelona. I reckon that, if we're talking to Barcelona, that means that he's given some indication he's willing to join United.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, definitely. The thing, we had Semra Hunter on the other day from the Liga TV, fantastic guest. Go and check out the video. I'll chat with her. And she was sort of saying that, Frenkie De Jong, when... have you ever had this argument with your better half where you say, oh, how'd you look? And you say, decent. But for me, decent is like, yeah, that was decent, that. Do you know what I mean? But she said decent as in he's had a decent season, as in it's been okay. Not great.
Jesus, that's decent.
Yeah, for me, decent is like a massive compliment. But when Semra was using it, it was like, he's been okay.
Yeah.
And Barcelona, even though ideally they'd like to keep him, they need money for other things, so they're willing to let him go. Yeah. Because he hasn't set the world alight there where they're going, we cannot let this man leave the Camp Nou no matter what.
Yeah.
United, obviously, Ten Hag knows him, sort of fits the bill. Okay, yes, we need a DM, but I'm quite sure Frenkie De Jong walks into our team as well.
Yeah.
I am slightly concerned the fact that all the figures being sort of touted about for our transfer budget, this would take a massive chunk out of it. If it is 85 million euros, you said, which is current state of this country, it's probably about 87 million quid.
Nice. Satire.
Satire, yes,
highest
it's not
level.
Really, exactly.
A little bit of comedy there, Jay.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, maybe we can spread these payments out over the next 5 years, whatever it is, and maybe we'll still have 80 million left to buy 2 more players. It's just, it does worry me a little bit. But listen, if Frenkie De Jong signs for United, I'm not going to moan. I'll be buzzing. Alex Buckingham says, I know Ten Hag wants him and he can get a lot out of him, but do we want a player that's probably on crazy money at Barca that doesn't want to be here? Apparently, it's more, he'd be more money here, wouldn't he? Is that the thing?
Probably.
We're making him like one of the highest paid players. Also, Pogba's gone. So there's wages that you could go, okay, we'll give those wages to Frenkie De Jong.
Yeah.
And also maybe even you give Pogba's place in the team to Frenkie De Jong.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he's not a DM, is he?
No.
He's not an out-and-out 10.
But I think this is heading to some sort of conclusion. I think whether that be him staying or him joining United, there is genuine interest here, and I think this is one to follow for sure because we want him, and Barca have to do some fiddling to get Lewandowski in. So whether it's getting rid of De Jong or not, something's got a budge here.
Are you keen on Frenkie?
Yeah, I think he's really good.
Yeah.
I think he's much more. I think his style of play is much more suited to United and Ten Hag than Pogba's was. I think he's much quicker on the ball. Is almost as good a passer as Pogba, not quite, but I think he's maybe slightly better in tight spaces than Pogba is. I don't think he's as good with the pitch in front of him to pick out a 70-yarder like Pogba can. But I think 1-2s in tight space, Frenkie De Jong's up there with anyone in the world, and he can be. I sort of almost don't want to compare the two, but I think more close to a player like Paul Scholes than a player like Pogba. I think he's more 1-2 round the corner, look up, play it through the lines, dribble through. He's more like that than Paul Pogba.
So you're saying he's better than Scholes?
Yeah.
Ever was?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's fair. That's reasonable. I think that's...
He'll certainly get paid more than Scholes ever did.
Yeah, honestly.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
All these great players United have had. Like, Phil Jones gets paid more than Bobby Charlton ever did.
Yeah.
How's that fair?
I mean, you've got to put things in perspective.
Nope.
You like,
No.
a house cost £3 back in those days.
Nah, don't put it in perspective.
Yeah, but it's
mate.
like Tom Finney. I remember when I was reporting Preston, Tom Finney passed away, and he was widely regarded as one of the best players in the world for a period when he was at Preston. And he had a part-time job as a plumber. So he'd literally finish games, get on his bicycle, and ride to people's houses to do their plumbing.
You know what I mean?
Like, and he was playing for England. Yeah. And he was playing in the top flight, and he's one of the best players on the planet.
And yet Lee Grant.
Yeah, Lee Grant
has never played for Man United.
More in a week
for a few million quid.
Finney earned in a lifetime. I mean,
good, isn't it?
It is crackers. I mean, this was when they had the wage cap as well in England. Stockton Fero says even with De Jong in our midfield, he's band average. Long-term injuries to Bruno and De Jong, and we're back to Fred.
But that's the case with anyone, isn't it? Long-term injuries to Benzema and Kroos and Real Madrid aren't great.
Yeah. It's a Duck says, my big worry for Eric Ten Hag is that he'll try to play his style, which works for a few games, then it will stop working as the players aren't up to it, then we revert to last year's play. What happened to Ralph Rangnick? The difference there, I understand that. We had it for an hour, didn't we, against Palace, where you thought, here we go, look at this, Gegenpress.
Come on.
Gegenpress me. I'm loving this.
I'm Gegenpressed.
Nice.
There you go. We found it in the end.
Got there in the end, thank you.
Man.
I'm so glad you're back in the studio. But Ralph Rangnick didn't have a pre-season.
No.
He didn't have any signings whatsoever of his own.
No.
He inherited a team that was, struggling. I know we had a little bit of a bounce back under Michael Carrick, but we had been struggling over the last couple of months. And they just weren't up to the job. They couldn't do what he wanted to do. And also, I think they didn't buy into it, and they knew he was leaving. Eric Ten Hag's here for the long haul, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Players aren't going to be able to just sulk for a few months and then wait for him to leave.
No.
They either perform for him or they're gone.
Or they can go.
So I think it's a little bit different than it was under Ralph Rangnick.
Yeah.
Alex Buckingham says, to be fair, there was a pre-season where I thought Cleverley was better than Scholes. We all get carried away.
Yeah, we do.
Mikel Teisland said, I remember Klopp the first season. His team was deadly for 45 to 65 minutes, then fell apart. How would the club fans deal with that if it happens to Eric Ten Hag? Very good question, that. Could you cope with that? Because Klopp struggled for a little bit. We struggled, remember like them celebrating that draw against West Bromwich Albion by lining up in front of the Kop?
Yeah. I do
Truly
remember that.
pathetic.
That is truly pathetic.
Yeah.
I love watching their parade the other day, didn't you? All of them on the bus pretending to be happy.
You've got to be gutted, haven't you?
So funny.
Like, you know what I mean?
Because 10 days ago they thought, this is a quadruple.
Yeah.
Don't say it. Well, this is a fucking quadruple.
Well,
and then in the end
thing.
it's just what
Do you know what it is, though? I mean, maybe I'm sort of
Jose.
misremembering, but I think the treble, it sort of caught up with you a little bit. It's like, you know what, we're on it. I think the game against Arsenal was the one where everyone's going, right, okay, the semi-final. Yeah. This is on this. People talking about the Scousers as a quadruple back in bloody October.
Yeah. It's like, do you know when, do you ever watch snooker?
Yeah.
Do you know,
well, not really, but I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, like when someone's going for a 147.
Yeah.
Usually, if it's a normal player, they'll wait till they've potted like 6 red, 6 blacks in a row. Ronnie O'Sullivan pots 1 black, and they're going, just so you know, he'll be thinking about the 147 here. You're like, he's potted what? He's got 8 points on the table, and we're talking about 147s. That's what it's like with Liverpool. October, don't say anything, but they're still in all competition. They haven't fucking played an FA Cup match yet. I know, but they're still in it.
It It was, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah,
like, it came well
they're so
early.
obsessed with it.
Yeah,
because they need to manufacture a storyline to make up for the fact that the views United fans bring when we're doing well currently aren't being brought because we're shit. So they have to manufacture this City-Liverpool rivalry. Okay, there's not much of a rivalry because no one cares. Let's do the quadruple instead. Shut up.
Jacob OC says Jay is a beautiful man. Well said. James Woods, I missed your chat. Not your chat. You did a comment before that I was going to read out, and he's also done a super chat. Thanks, James. He's always a big supporter of the channel. Philip Adams says before he left, I would have said Traore at Wolves was massively overrated.
I agree.
Big bastard and quick, but very little end product.
He's just a beefy Dan James, and I think we all know that now. Does he even get a game for Barca?
I'm not sure. I've never been. Steve likes him, doesn't he? I'm not a big fan. No. Cosmic, who's been a member of the Academy for 17 months, says Jay's head is shiny as C3PO. Thank you. Thank you for spending money to say that.
Human cyborg relations.
You are?
Huh?
Human
cyborg relations. Yeah.
What are you on about?
That's what C3PO says. I'm not on about you with a fleshlight.
Right. Human cyborg relations.
Yeah, that's what he calls himself.
But that's HCR.
Nice. Talking about things that are nice, Marco Asensio has been linked with Manchester United.
Right, tell me about this guy.
Agent George Mendes has reportedly keen on bringing the Real Madrid winger Marco Asensio to Manchester United, according to El Chiringuito TV, which aren't particularly reputable. If we're honest, he's fallen out of favour at Madrid under Ancelotti, with the 3-time Champions League winner starting only 19 games in La Liga this season, which actually is about the same as Paul Pogba does, and his first choice. The 26-year-old has just 12 months left on his current deal with Real. That's the thing to me that makes this seem possible, but I don't see where he'd fit in at United. He's one of those players that you seem to see a lot in Spain, where they're just slow wingers. Do you know what I mean? They're not quite industrious enough to play down the middle, so they just sort of get pushed out wide and they can do a good job out there. You saw it, like Ozil was one of them at Real Madrid. He played right wing most of the time for them. You know, there's a lot of players that seem to pick up in those roles. Isco's another one. Asensio's another one. I don't quite know where he'd play at United, so I don't think this is going to happen, and I don't really want to.
Isn't it mad how players that are just good have like 3 Champions Leagues?
It's disgusting, actually.
Like, he's got 3. I've just looked it up. He's got 3 Champions League winners' medals. He's got as many Champions League winners' medals as Manchester United Football Club.
It's United's trophy cabinet. Marco Asensio.
Yeah, and he's good.
He's good.
He's not like, tell you what, see Asensio at the weekend.
Can you believe he's done that again?
Yeah,
I know.
He's a good player who's got lots of Champions League winners' medals. And
it is mad.
Yeah. I mean, he did score. He scored in the final, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a good player. He's better. You know,
2017.
He is a good player, but he's just. I don't think he'd work at United. I don't quite see where he'd work, where he'd fit. Again, he's a winger. He's not particularly quick. He's not particularly strong or aggressive. He doesn't score that many goals. He's just a.
Do you know who he reminds me of a little bit in that sort of, not the style, but also that sort of level and that thinking and what they bring? Almost a little bit like Pedro. Yeah. Do you remember when we linked with Pedro?
Yeah.
And you think Pedro is a good player.
Yeah.
But he's in a Barcelona team that's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's not integral to that team.
No.
He's not the Xavi or the Iniesta or the Messi. He's someone who plays more games than he misses.
Yeah.
But if
and is known for predominantly his work rate.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Willian.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's a work rate winger.
Yeah.
Like fair enough, you need that sort of player around the great players, but you don't particularly get aroused when you're linked with them because you did the like you know, Gary Neville. I think he's better than he gets credit for these days.
No, he puts himself down
he does.
As sort of his shtick.
But he wasn't one of the best players in that team. But you needed him there. You know, it's no knock against him. But he's not a particularly attractive prospect if another club was to be linked with him.
James Wood says, lads, thank you for all your content. Absolutely the best channel on YouTube.
Thank you.
Got such a good feeling for this new MUFC. Up the Paddock. Thank you.
Enjoy
Thanks for all your support, man. We've got to the end of another season as well. You know, as owners of this channel, as this new channel that we started when we took over from Full Time Devils, and we tried to do things a bit differently, and the support has been phenomenal and continues to be phenomenal, and we do appreciate it. We've got loads of good stuff coming up, especially in pre-season. I can't wait. I can't wait for me, you, Speedos, beach, content. That's all I'm going to say.
Me, you, what? Sorry.
Speedos.
Oh, I missed the S. Jesus Christ. Thinking, can we not have enough controversy for 1 week? Me, you, and who? Okay. Well.
Sounds like a Channel 5 documentary.
Joe and Jay tackle the Speedos.
Speedos on the beach. What? We got a phone call from Missy. You didn't tell me you were going to do this. You said you were going to cover United.
Yeah, we're doing gritty crime dramas now.
Yeah.
Stretford Paddock's changed.
James Wood says Joe should do stand-up. I agree. He doesn't do stand-up. He does do Sloppy Joe's podcast.
Yeah, check out the Sloppy Joe's podcast. New episode this week, where if you know Joe McGrath from this show or from this channel, we've seen what him at his rock bottom, him at his largest ever weight. The picture is on the podcast. It is unbelievable.
Really?
It's so good. Do you know those videos on like Britain's Got Talent where someone gets inside a giant balloon and just the head pops out and like that? Looks like
Is
that.
he a big lad?
He was a big lad in 2018. You got to check out the Sloppy Joe's podcast.
I've always thought he's been the same weight, Joe.
He's ballooned.
Oh, has it?
Yeah.
I do that a little bit. Like I'm in lockdown when I'm in my beard days.
Oh dear.
Well, that's what got me running.
The beard were hiding something, wasn't it?
I was like,
We thought that was a beard. That was just Bombay Mix. That had missed your mouth.
Spilled out of my mouth, down the chin.
Those twiglets.
Yes. W015970 says, now the image of you two in Speedos is burnt into my head. Awesome content, more beers for you two. Thank you, brother, for that super chat. I will read out some other chats as well. Alex Buckingham says, still some top slobbers spots available. Ross Murphy says, Floppy Joe's is so funny. Go check it out. It really is. It's so. Rich Porter all night says, Joe's reaction to the photo made me dribble and cry.
We'll get the link in there. Thanks, Callum.
Yeah, Callum, can you put a link in there for us, bro, for Sloppy Joe's, and I'll do a plug for Scotty Moy later.
There you go.
Right, Ruben Neves.
Yep.
Yes or no?
We've been handed a transfer boost, Jay. And that boost is Wolves are drawing closer to signing Sporting Lisbon star Palhinha, a midfielder / holding midfielder that can operate in similar role to Neves.
There was. Well, I can't remember which podcast it was on because we do so many. We were sort of chatting about who United could get, and someone mentioned Palhinha. He's not had a great career. He's had a good season, though, hasn't he? And it was like, oh, maybe he could come at Old Trafford and do it. He's like a Bruno type, where he's a late bloomer. And it was like, that's a bit much of an ask for someone to come into this United team who's, done okay recently at Sporting Lisbon. I don't think he's been great for years. I think he's 26. I think Palhinha is. He's not a kid. I might be wrong, but that makes more sense if he went there and we got Neves. I'm not mad on Neves.
I know you don't like him, dear.
I just don't know if he's what we need.
I think if we're getting De Jong, there's a lot less need for Neves. I know they're not quite the same player, and Neves tackles a lot more and is more defensively positionally disciplined than De Jong is, which is kind of what we do need. But I just think, again, he's more of a deep-lying playmaker, where his best attributes are his passing and his vision and his distribution. And I think there's too much of a Venn diagram with De Jong. They're not exactly the same player by any means, as I've just said, but I think we need someone that is defensively disciplined like he is, wins the ball back like he does, but is a bit more industrious, is a bit more physical and leggy than Neves is. But to be honest, if there's all those sort of background stats and infographics and data that the clubs have access to that we don't, I think you could make a decent case for Neves being a good signing for United. He just wouldn't be my first choice.
I think what happens with Neves is we want midfielders. We know him. He scored a couple of good goals against us. He's got a reputation of being a pretty solid player for Wolves. And if he came, people go, good, we've got a midfielder. We've got someone who, you can bang in a goal from 20 yards. He gets stuck in. He's got that about him. But he's not that type of player that we need, I feel. I feel you're right in a lot of what you're saying. And when I've seen Neves, I've always felt he's just been okay. I've always thought like he's all right. I've never been like, tell you what, he's a player in. Or he's someone who could do a job at Old Trafford. I've never felt that.
No.
That's just my own personal opinion. Get involved in the comments and let us know if you... both links. Oh, there's 2 links in the description. Oh, yeah. Sorry. 2 links for our... I presume, is that for both podcasts? Yeah, so there's a link in the chat as well for Scotty and Marty, because I have to put one in. I can do that because I've got lots that you haven't.
Yeah.
Hey.
And,
so
I've got morals and you haven't.
You want to subscribe to Scotty Marty, go in the chat or in the link in the description. If you want to subscribe to Sloppy Joe.
Spotty, you know?
Sloppy Joe.
Who the fuck are you calling Spotty? Scotty Martin, then Spotty and fucking...
Sloppy Joe.
Spotty and
There's a link in the description. And we'll get a link in the chat in a minute, right?
Thank you.
I'll do it.
Right, David Carmo.
Go on.
Yeah?
I'm gonna get a link while you talk about him. Go on.
2 rounds of talks with Carmo. Yeah?
Right.
Right?
Okay.
You listening?
Yeah, go on.
Good. United have held 2 rounds of talks with SC Braga defender David Carmo, although Jurgen Timber remains the club's priority target. Move that away from him so I can see his face a little bit. I think I went to school with him.
You went to school with David Carmo? Did you?
No, it's not him. I need to message him back, actually. Anyway,
there's a link in the chat for Sloppy Joes, by the way.
Carmo plays as a left-sided centre-back fitting the profile that United are reportedly in the market for. He's been a mainstay at Braga side that finished 4th in Portugal. Now, if that doesn't inspire confidence, what the fuck does?
I didn't even know there was 4 teams in Portugal.
Shut up.
I thought it was Benfica, Porto, and Sporting Lisbon. That was it.
Yeah, and Getafe and Real Mallorca. Something. Getting it all
Finished
wrong.
4th. How was that a selling point?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
You know what?
He's the 4th best team in Portugal.
He's done well. He was a mainstay in the team that finished 4th in Portugal.
That's like the Michael Owen brochure.
Yeah, he was nominated for Best Dive at Butlins in 2012.
He's got a fine haircut.
He has,
and
actually.
a well-groomed moustache.
Yeah, he has.
What are these
Lovely
selling points?
goatee.
This kid could be mint. I'm not having a dig at him.
No.
I just don't think a good selling point for anyone is he was a mainstay in a team that finished 4th in the Portuguese league.
No.
That doesn't make you think, get him. Who is he? What, he's a regular for him? What, he's part of the team?
He was a mainstay.
Mainstay, yeah. Played most of the games. Not all of them, most.
He mainly stays in the team.
Yeah, he missed fewer games than he appeared in.
Yeah.
So he's important.
He's also been called up for Portugal for the upcoming Nations League qualifiers.
Well, what do you fucking do?
Okay, so Jay doesn't like him, and let's move on.
Sasha Grimes, welcome to the first team. James Woods, welcome to the first team. Thanks for your support, guys,
Thanks.
both of you.
Thank you. Sasa Kalajdzic, the Stuttgart forward and Austrian international. Sasa Kalajdzic has been linked with United, a proposed role as a backup striker, awaiting the Bundesliga star. Now, can I tell you something, Jay? How tall am I? Do you know?
6'5".
Just under. You know?
Okay.
This guy's 6'7".
That's ridiculous.
He makes me look like. Do you know those little bread rolls that you warm up in the oven?
Yeah.
He makes me look like one of them.
He must be the tallest man in the world.
What really made me laugh the other week when we heard about that Jake Comfort post. If anyone didn't see, it was him just being Alan Partridge on LinkedIn. When it said, you know what, you can change a lot of people's lives with just one skill. And you went, swimming. I was laughing about that all weekend. No,
I love that. I love it. I love it.
Swimming. Oh, was it swimming?
Think about it. If someone's drowning and you can swim, boom, you've changed their life. Yeah. I plucked a skill out of the air, and that's the one I came to.
Yeah, he must be the tallest person in the world. 6'7".
He looks like one of the assassins they send to get Jason Bourne.
Yeah, he does actually.
He's like the one who gets the phone call, or the text just goes.
Yeah.
And the next thing you
say
see,
no more.
Yeah, say no more. He's packing up his suitcase and he's on his moped.
Tyre smoke.
Yeah, that's
he's coming
it.
around the corner.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, he does. I mean, again,
thoughts? 17 million quid. Again, he's going to be someone that comes in as a backup striker to Cristiano Ronaldo. He's definitely there. He's a sizable fucker, isn't he?
I mean, okay, he's 6'7". Doesn't necessarily, times have changed in football. Just because you're tall doesn't mean your only attribute is your heading.
No.
But we don't tend to cross the football into the box anyway, do we?
No. And also, one concern I do have is he spent most of the season injured. He's had a shoulder injury that's kept him out for most of the season. He got 17 goals last year, but only played 15 games this season.
Sod off.
That worries me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure he's one of this sort of signing, your 15 sort of to 20 million pound signing of a more peripheral kind of squad player. There probably are 10 of him. There are 10 people that we are looking at that probably aren't good enough for the first team, but we need to bring in. Again, I quite like the fact that he's a little bit younger as well. He's not a 30-year-old. I think he's 24 years old. I may be making that up, but we can double check that. He's certainly a younger player. He's not an Igalo or a Cavani where basically you're hoping they can do something because this is the end of their career. He's the sort of player that could be a suitable, sustainable backup at United for a handful of years. And I think this sort of signing is necessary. I just don't know if he's the right guy for it. That injury record worries me.
No, I've said it all along. I think one thing we have to start looking at is injury records. We started this show by talking about Paul Pogba now. He missed a lot of games.
Yeah.
We signed Cavani, even though we had a poor injury record over the last couple of seasons, and he was approaching his mid-30s. We just thought it would be all right. Rafael Varane, we've not managed his injuries very well. No. So we have to take that into consideration. With someone like Varane, you think it's worth it because he's so good. When it's a young upcoming player, you have to think, can we afford to take a punt on him? Is it worth the risk? I'm not so sure. Philip Adams in the super chat says, what do Prince Andrew, Manchester United and the Black Eyed Peas all have in common?
We know it, don't we? They've all gone downhill since Fergie left.
Yeah. All went south since Fergie left. Yeah, very good.
That.
Yeah. Matt says, we're stuck in our old ways. DMs like Fabinho and Rodri aren't necessarily destroyers, but their defensive positioning puts them in advantageous tackling intercepting positions. Bro, we invented that with Michael Carrick. We were doing that before your Fabinhos and your Rodris even existed.
He's got the best defensive positioning of any midfielder I've ever seen, Michael Carrick.
I can't remember him sprinting.
No, he never needed to.
No.
He's literally, I don't know whether it was a permanently conscious thing or he just happened to have this in his locker. He was always between the man on the ball and the man he wanted to pass it to. He was just always in between them. So I can't make my first choice pass, I'll have to go that way. Yeah. He was making players take their second choice 20 times a game, every game for 10 years at United. He was just unbelievable at that. I've never seen a player as good at that. Just constantly in between the ball and the man that they want to pass it to. And unbelievable.
Almost went under the radar as well, how he evolved his game a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier, the Roma game. That first season, he got forward a lot more than he did in later years, or after that. Just a fantastic player. And we've spoken a lot about Michael Carrick, and I'll happily do that because I think he doesn't perhaps get enough credit from certain fans because of the way he played. He wasn't a tough tackler. He wasn't someone like a Scholes who was always, scoring loads of goals or doing absolutely amazing passes, although Carrick's passing was very good. So yeah, I could talk about Michael Carrick all day long.
He was brilliant, and this is an underrated quality for a deep player to have. His, what are now called sort of balls through the lines, but just ground passes that are going forward 10 plus yards. He was unbelievable at them, breaking through the lines, making passes where it's not a difficult pass, but you have to be a good passer to make it, and you have to be a really good passer to make it time and time and time and time again in difficult moments, in high pressure situations. He was threading the ball through the lines continuously. He was so good at that. United don't have anyone that can do that at the minute.
And he won every single club trophy possible, I think, as well.
Did he? Yeah, he won the Europa League,
the Champions League, the League Cup, the FA Cup.
Was he like coach player by the end? That last season?
By the Europa.
Yeah.
Under Jose, I'm not sure he might have
I don't know if it was officially, but he was definitely still coaching.
In the squad. He still got a medal.
Yeah.
I can't remember how much he played. Philip Adams said, I met David Prowse once. Star Wars link there. Huge man. There's Darth Vader in it. James Earl Jones did the voice. David Prowse did the body. Is that it? Have you got any more for me?
That's all I've got for you
tonight. That's it. It's gone by so quickly, Joseph.
It's been beautiful, hasn't it?
I'm not here tomorrow, so it's you, innit?
What are you doing?
It's my lad's birthday. Ellis's 7th birthday.
I'm on the news in the morning.
You are on the news, yeah? You better make sure it's good news.
I
don't want any more bad news.
No news is bad news.
I want, we've signed De Jong, Pele and a young Lionel Messi. And Mohamed Ali in that order, yeah? So make sure you're checking out Sloppy Joe's. There's been links in the descriptions in the chat. He'll be back with the news in the morning. I'll be back on Friday with a brew, and I think we've got Uncle Webby coming in for that one.
Brilliant.
So I'm looking forward to that. Don't forget as well to hit like, share and subscribe, and check out BetVictor and Last Man Standing. Get involved in them and let them know that Stretford Paddock sent you. There you go. Let's just calm down and get our words out, yeah? We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the season. With your support, we can do it. Thanks to everyone who got involved tonight. Thanks for watching.